In this video, I'm going to go over exploratory writing, and I'm also going to explain your pre-writing assignment for this week that's going to lead up to your first essay for this class. So what is exploratory writing? Your textbook calls it an attempt to think about something through writing. I also like this explanation by James Farrell, where he talks about probing connections and exploring links between personal matters and everything around you. One thing about this type of writing is that sometimes it is more about posing questions than actually giving or finding answers. And this type of writing can take a lot of different forms that don't seem at all connected, but they are all a way of exploring ideas. Journaling, or if you've ever kept a diary of any kind, that's exploratory writing. Data studies, where they take a lot of different information and try to come up with answers. This is more of a scientific type of writing, but that is exploratory writing. Anytime you have to sit down and brainstorm ideas, whether it's for a class or any other type of event or activity that you're trying to do, that's exploratory writing. But of course, in this class, we're going to focus on the personal essay. So what are some of the characteristics of the exploratory essay, especially as relates to your first essay that you'll be writing? One, it should be personal. Obviously, if you're going to write something that you personally want to explore, it should be important to you on a personal level. It doesn't have to be extremely profound or deep thought. It's just something or someone that you want to learn more about. And in this type of essay, you're allowed to be very personal. You can put yourself in this essay. When we get to our research essays, you'll see that's very different, where you're trying to keep yourself out of the writing and just let your research and your words do the work. But in this type of essay, you want to show your connection to the topic and any questions that you have about it. Another characteristic is descriptive language or figurative language, because you want your audience to be able to connect with whatever it is or whoever it is you're writing about, the questions that you're posing. So as much detail or figurative language as you can put in there helps them kind of make those connections. And we're going to go over a few passages from the essay from last week that you had to read, and I'll show you what I mean by some of these concepts. So here are some things you want to focus on as you are beginning to think about writing this exploratory essay. One, obviously, as always, you want a topic that you care about, but also that can be relatable to a reader. Thinking about the rhetorical situation, meaning what type of assignment this is. Again, this is a personal essay, so you can put yourself within the essay. There's no research involved, other than maybe you want to talk to someone who is the topic of the essay. The structure, even though it's not a research essay, it still should have good structure, well organized. The paragraphs should make sense one after another, and so on. And you can look in chapter 21 on the exploratory writing that shows several examples of how you can structure this essay. And of course, you always want to have as much detail as possible. So this essay is going to borrow from the example of the Mothers as We Never Knew Them essay. So this is going to be about someone that you know. So any personal stories or experiences, as much description of those things that you could put in there. Um, in this case, I'm going to ask you to look for a picture. You can include that if it's possible. It's not necessary for the essay, but it always adds a little something when you are able to put that in there. Let's take a closer look at the Our Mother's essay. I talk about using figurative or descriptive language, which is something she does really well in this first paragraph. Now, she mentions this photo of her mother, but that she hasn't seen this photo for years. So apparently, she didn't have it to include within this essay. But she does a really good job in this first paragraph explaining what's in the photo, describing her mom, how old she is, what she looks like, what she's wearing, even, the fact that it's the 70s. So we can kind of picture that aesthetic of the midriffs and cutoffs from that time period and where it's at. It's in a rural area of New Jersey. So she does a good job of painting that picture, if you will, since we don't have it in front of us. So that's something you want to think, how much description can you put in to your essay, especially if you're not able or don't want to share the photo. I also talked about those questions that sometimes you don't have answers for. She does a good job of that as well. In this paragraph, she's talking about some of the stories that she knew from her time before her mother became a mother, such as going to Woodstock and so on. And then she asks this question, um, any story about your mother is part myth, isn't it? And that's more of a rhetorical question meant to get the reader to think about that in a little more detail. And then we do have some really wonderful pictures with brief stories attached to them of other people's mothers and a lot of different backgrounds and so on. And then close to the end, she starts asking more questions um, about these photos and the stories that came with them. And she asks if these characteristics, meaning pluck, sex appeal, power, kindness, all these things that are ways that these women describe their moms. And she asks if these characteristics are a prerequisite for a properly executed womanhood. Does becoming a mother divest a woman of such qualities? In other words, she's asking, once someone becomes a mom, do they stop becoming all these things? And then she asks this again, can a woman be both sexual and maternal, daring and responsible, innocent and wise? Because a lot of times, she's probing this idea that once a woman becomes a mother, are they completely changed from the woman they are before? And a lot of times that's what we think of our mothers, but if we probe a little deeper, what do we find? Can we see both parts of that person? So, whoever you decide to write about, these are the kinds of things that you want to think about, some questions about who they were and who they are now, and how you connect to that, or maybe how you might struggle to connect to that. So, if you haven't already read this essay, obviously I'm hoping that you did because there's a quiz over it. Um, I also would suggest if you have read it to go over it in a little more detail, since you know that you're going to be writing something
That in
similar.
there.
So let's think about that essay, Our Mothers as We Never Knew Them. So, as you're starting to think about your own topic, think back to that essay and think of, were there elements that you really enjoyed or that surprised you? Did you what did you think of the pictures that were included and the stories that related to those pictures? Did you connect to the writing at all? Did it make you think about your own mother or your own parents and who they were before you knew them? Obviously, you'll always know them as your parent, but have you ever stopped to think about them before that? Sometimes it can be a little surprising, especially when you come across pictures of parents or other relatives, before you knew them. So you want to take the time to think about how she wrote that essay and some of the connections that she made and how they affected you. And then you want to think about who you would pick to write about based on a picture, because that is what this assignment will be. So your assignment for this week, it's a pre-writing assignment, meaning we're just getting into picking a topic and um, getting all of our ideas kind of together. So we're going to borrow directly from the essay about our mothers. In this case, it doesn't have to be a mother, it can be a parent, either parent, any other relative that's close to you, someone else that doesn't have to be related, someone that's close to you. But the point is, it should be someone that you have known for a long time, and if possible, finding a picture of their younger selves, possibly before you knew them, because you're wanting to kind of do those probing questions and make those connections between who they were and who they are now as you know them. And then you'll go to Blackboard and complete the exploratory essay pre-writing assignment by answering all the questions about that picture. And I'm going to show that to you right now. Okay, so let's look at the assignment for this week under week 5, exploratory writing. There's your module overview that will have everything that you need to know as far as when your due dates are. The only thing you have to do after you watch this video is the exploratory essay pre-writing activity. And that video will be right here. So here is the activity. When you open it, it's like a form, less than an assessment. Start attempt 1, and you will see the questions. Describe the picture, what is your relationship, and just go through and answer these. You can also upload a picture if you want to. It's not required. And then after you do that, you will be done for the week. I also do have a print copy of the worksheet questions, or the activity questions in worksheet form. If you happen to want to print it out, or you need to print it out for some reason, this isn't working for you, I will accept if you have to take a picture or scan it in and send it to me. Either way will work just fine. And that is all you have to do for this week.